everyone, Venus here. I hope you're all well. I hope all is well in your world, and if not, I hope things get better. In this video, we are going to be talking about the word quarantine, because words are very much spells, right? What is a spell? It is something that a magical user casts. It's an enchantment of sorts. So why do we correlate this into language? Right? We do it. We say, how do I spell this word? Can you spell that for me? And that's because spoken word is an incantation, okay? It's spell making in its simplest form, and that's why affirmations are so powerful. I mean, you'll see it across the board, like everyone, like on their spiritual journey, a tool that they often speak about is, the I am affirmations. And I mean, in the Bible, the very first verse in the Gospel of John is, in the beginning was the Word, okay? In the Bible, God literally creates by commanding, let there be light. So, in light of recent global events, we're going to be taking a look at the word quarantine, and hopefully this video will kind of open your mind a bit, show you something that you probably did not see before or know before. So anyways, as we can see here, this is the word quarantine, and it takes root in Italian, quaranta giorni, meaning a space of 40 days, or quaranta meaning 40. So this word originated during the bubonic plague. Okay, so sailors were coming into port cities, right? They were trying to dock their ships in these cities like Dubrovnik in modern-day Croatia. And these places at the time were Venetian controlled. And so the plague was spreading really, really fast. Medicine back then wasn't as advanced, and so they were trying to understand how the plague operated, how it was working, why it was moving so fast, and they began realizing that it was spreading because of proximity. So the Venetians then created a law called quarantino, which was a forced isolation of 40 days, and that is how the word came about. So now, if we go even more in depth, we come to find that 40 is actually a very significant number for many, many reasons. So, a quick numerology lesson for you guys, especially if you guys watched my last video on the global update for March 2020, and we talked about the numerology and the energy of the month, and we exposed some stuff. So we're gonna do that really quick right here. In numerology, we always reduce to a single digit. So the number 40 reduces to 4, right? We have 4 plus 0 equals 4. So 4 is actually the number of law and order, okay? Master number 22, also known as the master builder. We never reduce master numbers, but if you were to reduce it to a single digit, it reduces to 4. So the number 4, likewise, holds the energy of the builder. Now, if we look in the Bible, okay, now we're gonna, let me backtrack. So now we're gonna take a look and see how 40 is significant, and we're gonna take a look into the Bible again, and also some other examples. I know I keep bringing up the Bible, like I don't want y'all to get, the wrong idea that like this is church or whatever, but there's just a lot of good stuff, good symbolism. So if we do look into the Bible, we will see that Jesus was in the desert for, you guessed it, bada bing, 40 days, in which the devil attempted to tempt him away from the light, so to speak. Moses was on Mount Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights when writing the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not steal, all that good stuff. Right? 10 Commandments, law. Good thing I taught you guys about numerology a few seconds ago. It's the energy of law. In the book of Deuteronomy, there is a law way back when that specified that the limit of lashes someone can receive for a crime is 40. in the 1940s, the United States passed a law, once again, laws, in which the work week would become 40 hours. There is also a yogic tradition called sadhana, which is, to put briefly, a spiritual practice that you create for yourself in effort to reconnect with divinity, and that practice typically lasts 40 days. The median length of a pregnancy is, you guessed it, 40 weeks for the gestation growth period. So we can already see the significance of the number 40. So what does this all mean, right? The current global pandemic that the world is facing has all of us in quarantine, okay? Now, I'm not saying that this thing is gonna last 40 days or 40 weeks or what have you, but remember, once again, words are spells. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're all spelling ourselves into this situation, although it very much can, and we very much are, right? But that's a completely different video. But rather, I'd like to direct your attention to, in this case, how this buzzword, right, quarantine, that's been floating around can very much give you an idea of where we are as a collective and what we are going through. Okay, so if we as collective consciousness are clinging into this spitting it out like every 10 seconds, like it's in the news, it's everywhere, like quarantine this, quarantine that, that means this is energetically in our collective, right? So it's very much one of those in plain sight things. How is this manifesting? Where are we directing this energy? How is this energy directing us? Okay, so we can understand that the number 40 and all the examples I've given you guys is to be a number of trial, testing, judgment, probation, and gestation, right? And what better way to deal with your inner demons, with your shadow work, than to be stuck in isolation with your own thoughts, with your own self? Are you going to sit in silence and look within, or are you going to play video games all day, scroll through your phone all day, drink till you're blacked out, smoke till you can't remember what you did 5 seconds ago? Like, how are you using this energy? And don't get me wrong, like, I'm a 5 life path. That's the energy of chaos and change, completely opposite of structure and foundation and this law type of energy that we're experiencing right now. So yes, it is a very difficult energy to deal with, especially if you're not used to it, especially if you haven't put yourself into practice, right? So this is a period of time for you to expel the dis-ease in you, in your immediate surroundings, right? The sailors were quarantined for 40 days, right? We're being quarantined on a global scale. Dis-ease, something not at ease. That's all disease is, right? It's imbalance. Everything wrong is a physical manifestation of what needs healing within, and that can be applied on so many different levels, right? This is your own personal sadhana. You are in this moment. You are it's going to sound so corny, but you are the Jesus in the desert facing the devil, and the only real evil that exists is the evil that you have created. How are you facing your shadow self? Jesus and the devil, to me, are just two faces to the same coin. And this is a really beautiful time to connect to yourself. Okay, to contemplate, to realize things, to think, to plan. I mean, you're being given an opportunity to heal. The entire world is being put on pause for this purpose, for this clearing of dis-ease. This is our gestation period before we are birthed again and before we go back into the world. So going back into numerology, we can see in tarot, I always love looking at the numerology and how it relates in tarot cards. So the 4th card in the tarot deck is the Emperor, right? On a global scale, we are dealing with themes of politics, power, control, corruption, right? The 13th card is death, which again, in numerology, we reduce to 1 digit. So 1 plus 3 equals 4. It's another 4 card, the death card. And we are watching old systems dying. We are dealing with literal death in the world. On a metaphysical level, this is a period of death and rebirth and of self-awareness. Many people are being humbled right now. Many people are facing an ego death because of this situation. Now, looking at the 4 in the different suits in the tarot, we have the 4 of Pentacles. And this is a man holding on to this pentacle. There's some at his feet, at his head. This card asks us, what are we holding on to? What are we clinging on to? How is it burdening us? How is it no longer serving us? Okay? The man in this card is clinging onto the pentacles because of fear, because of greed, because of loss, because he feels that if he lets go, it's not going to return to him. And we're seeing this energy in the collective. Again, there's a high energy of fear right now, and we can witness in politics and in jobs and in companies that are treating employees unfairly during this time and are being motivated by greed. There are great losses happening. And if we want to get more spiritual with it, I mean, this man is holding onto the pentacle, right? He's clinging to it right on his chest here. He's blocking his heart chakra. How are we blocking our hearts? How are we not responding with love to ourselves and others? How are we allowing this situation to make us go cold, to become detached or self-serving? Okay? So the weight of another pentacle is weighing heavy on his head, on his mind. If you guys see my Instagram story, I made a post talking about the root word corona, the root word of the word corona, excuse me. And it comes from Latin meaning crown, located at the head. So to get spiritual with it, that is our crown chakra. An imbalanced crown chakra is fearful. It is materialistic. And it's going through a spiritual crisis, just to name a few. So the figure in this card also has his feet planted firmly on 2 pentacles beneath him. So, in what ways have we placed too much of our own value in the material world? In things that can be easily taken away from us? How are you building on things that will not last? Some questions to think about. Now, in the 4 of Cups, we see a man with his eyes shut, his arms crossed, completely ignoring the offerings of the divine, because clouds and tarot typically symbolize the divine or thought, amongst many other things. So this asks, how are we taking things for granted because we're emotionally tired? This is a card for deep, contemplated thought. This is a card of spiritual awakening. Are we using this energy to our benefit, or are we continuing to resist? Ahead, and now we're going to look at the 4 of Swords, which I think defines this entire situation of quarantining to a T. In the simplest form, this is a card of rest, okay? This is a card of being alone and taking time to heal and contemplate. And I think that is the stage that speaks the most loudly, but that's just my opinion. You may be resonating with one of these cards more so than the other. And finally, we have the 4 of Wands, and this is a good card to kind of end things on, to wrap things up with. This card is a card of celebration, of romance, of peace, prosperity, and it is a card of coming home. It's a card of reunion. And so with that being said, that is also the energy that is available to us. right? Tarot cards do nothing but read, well, they do a lot, but amongst one of the things that they do is read energy. And when you look into numerology and you study these things, you kind of get to see how these are all connected and how everything really is in plain sight. So anyways, you guys, thank you for watching. Take this all with a grain of salt, take from it what you will. I wish you all the best of luck, and I'll see you next time. Bye.